back.
Back, man. So Detroit Lions season, we're gonna jump right into it. We have some moves that was made today. Chris Spielman jumps on board front office, along with the Barry Sanders and two other gentlemen. But we really we thinking about Chris Spielman and we thinking about Barry right now.
Yeah.
I want you to jump in and just talk about how you feel about those moves.
I was pleased with it because every not just us, but pretty much every Lions fan was wanting somebody with a football mind outside of the organization kind of to help because everybody in the organization are really not football people. Rod Wood, Sheila Ford, Hamp, she's not really a football person. And I was a little bothered when she said that that she was relying on Rod Wood. I was distraught over that, but I think it was a really good move. I mean, Chris Spielman, he basically came out and said, you know, hey, I'm not really fit to be a GM right now. So I think it was good for them. They put him in a position, and I believe they say his position will carry on even after the GM and head coach process. So he'll be working with the team, for a while. Barry Sanders, I'm not sure exactly what he's gonna do. I think he's just gonna be a counselor. And then there's another guy that they got who I think he's from Michigan, and so he's helping out. So I was just happy with that.
Yeah, me too. Chris Spielman's my guy. He's a football guy. We spoke about him in other podcasts, and he's a real football guy.
Yeah,
He could smell a player,
yeah,
and
he's a X's and O's guys.
right. And I'm happy that he's in the building. I'm glad it's not as a GM either. Um,
Yeah,
the
I'm glad it is. Not, honestly, this was actually a move that I wanted. I wanted them to kind of not hire him as a GM, but just keep him in the building, let him get. And he said that he particularly wants to help build the culture in Detroit.
Now, I know they keep talking about they want to get a guy that's done it before for the GM and for the coaching spot, and
Yeah,
that brings up the red flags with you because I know you're not a big Harbaugh fan. Um,
not at all. I mean, I'm hoping that when she said she wanted to get somebody who's done it before, I'm hoping she's not just meaning. I hoping she really directing it towards um, the GM position because that I can understand. Being a GM, you kind of it's a lot. People don't realize that it's a lot. It's not just you pick the picks and you pick the players. It's more that goes into it, and I feel like that you get better at it with practicing time. And then people that have set out, you know, it's like you. It's just like kind of like when a coach gets fired and they kind of sit out, they go back, they watch the game, and then they come back and I mean, sometimes they be a little bit better. Um,
mhm.
but I just noticed from like coaches, I mean, most times, and it's some some difference makers here and there, like Andy Reid. He's coached in a few different places. Um, Belichick even coached in a few different places before he stuck with New England for so long. But most times with coaches, I feel like, I mean, they are what they are. Um, sure, they might make changes here, changes there, but ultimately, I think they kind of are what they are. Now, GM, like and I hope you remember his name, the old GM for the Houston Texans that we were just looking at the other day.
Yes, sir. Smith, ooh, what was the name? Smith, right?
Rick Smith, Rick Smith or something
Rick
like that.
Smith. Yeah,
I really like him because he had that organization going in a great direction. And he just it came out that he just didn't really see eye to eye with Bill O'Brien, and so he stepped away from the organization, and I'm betting the organization right now is like kicking themselves in the ass because it's like now they got to go out and find another guy to basically just do what he was already doing. Um, I definitely like him as a candidate. When they said that they were interested in him, and I think he's gonna be like the first person interviewed outside of the three in-house candidates. I was excited. I want somebody like that. Like even Dorsey, you know, um, he has drafted talented players. You know, the Browns are successful right now because of him. He made a bad choice in coaching a coaching hire, and but as far as the roster, they had a talented roster.
I agree. I agree, and that's my only problem with bringing Smith in or Dorsey is how do we know they're not going to make the same bad mistake when it comes to hiring a coach? You know,
Exactly, and that's where I was at. Especially with Dorsey, like that's exactly where I was at. But I think he's learned because the dude who he hired, what was his name, Kitchens, something like that.
oh
He
for the assistant role to help out with the coaching search.
no, who Dorsey had hired for the
Oh
Browns coach, wasn't what his name was
yeah,
Kitchens,
yeah,
right?
Freddie Kitchens, yeah.
He he wasn't qualified at all. Um, he just simply wasn't qualified. But it is just a little tidbit from Rick Smith. I hope that's his name, but he does have some familiarity with Robert Salah.
I didn't know that. At what time?
Yeah. I forget what it was in one of those articles that we had. We go through so many articles, but it was in one of those articles that I think one of the Lions beat writers leaked it out. But yeah, they at one point in time they were in the same place, so they definitely know who each other are. They have some familiarity, and because I mean, those are the hottest candidates for the coach. I'm hearing that it's a pretty much done deal that Bieniemy is going over to Houston,
Which makes
which
sense.
it makes sense. I think that's a better fit. Um, the quarterback they have in Houston, he's really him to me. Him and to me, him and Mahomes are almost one and the same.
Right.
I think Mahomes got probably a tad bit stronger arm, but they're to me one and the same. And if you put Watson in that system, which I'm assuming Bieniemy will run the same exact system or close to it, then you to me you would have a winner.
Right. Right. It's a good look. Like him going to Houston with Deshaun Watson and then like just previously coached um Mahomes, it makes sense. And I couldn't understand or fathom the thought Lions fans saying, "Oh yeah, let him come over here and coach Stafford and we be good." Like I just don't see that
Why? Yeah,
working. I don't see it
I,
working.
I I didn't see it working. That was the only way. I don't see it working, but I was also saying that was the only way that I could. That was the only way that I could see him coming here. I couldn't see him coming here to kind of rebuild, or I don't think he's that. I don't look at him as that type of guy. I don't know how much the difference between him and Rob Salah, and we'll after this we'll jump right back because I want to talk a little bit more about Barry Sanders. Um, but the difference between Rob Salah and Bieniemy to me is that defense. It's all Rob Salah. That scheme, the way he coaches those guys up, it's all him. I don't know how much of uh, the Chiefs' success is on Bieniemy. Like I don't is because what I'm looking at it is I'm looking at it like it's Aaron Rodgers and it's pretty. I mean not Aaron Rodgers. It's pretty much Mahomes and pretty much Andy Reid.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and it's I think too many times have we given offensive coordinators um too a little bit too much props. Like for example, what's his name over in New England? His system is old.
McDaniels.
McDaniel's system is old. It's an older model system. It's about a generation of football. Oh, because we're in a new generation of football.
Right.
So his system is old. It's just that he had such a good quarterback and a good head coach that hey, he could, you know what I'm saying? He could make it work. But honestly, it's an old, outdated system pretty much. Because we see how it's working with Cam over there. And I don't think Cam is the problem over there. I really don't.
They got a lot of things they got to address over there with New England, and but I'm gonna tell you this, and you're probably gonna get upset.
Shoot.
I'll pick Harbaugh over Salah.
Oh man. I didn't know you was gonna say that. I mean, I know you really like. I know you really like Harbaugh, but tell me why. Why are you
Just
so?
it's like I had to go back to the lab yesterday. I did some research, and it's just like just looking at Harbaugh's like track record. Like, I know he's having a rough time, but that Ohio State situation where he's at with in the Big Ten right now is just kind of hard. Um, But just looking at his track record with the 49ers, with San Diego State back in the day, it's just like everywhere he went, he kind of really turned around programs and he made them successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, um, as you know, with that 49er, I was actually really involved with that 49er run because I was out there living in the Bay while he was doing that run, and that team was rocking, man. He really not only were they rocking, they were really dominant, you know,
yeah.
and I
They had a good defense too.
they had an outstanding defense, and the thing was, he basically got to the Super Bowl with Kaepernick, but the thing is with the 49ers that fell south was the relationship between the GM and Harbaugh. That was it. Like if they didn't have a falling out, he still would have been there. You know what I
Do
mean?
you remember what they fell out about?
You know what? The GM of the 49ers at that time, he was having like some kind of ego trip.
Mm,
And him and Harbaugh just bumped heads a lot. They were really bumping heads as far as, they was having a pissing match every day. You know what I mean? So
right.
who's better, the
Who's
GM or the
gonna
coach?
win?
Yeah, like
Right,
who's better, the GM or the coach? Like who got us to the Super Bowl last year? Was it me as the GM or was you the coach? And they was just
right.
bumping heads, and it fell to the floor, and eventually,
Had to be separated.
right. So
Um, these are my thoughts on your man. And I know that he's a good coach. I don't think he's a bad coach or a terrible coach, but um, he has turned around some organizations. um, but I'm a Michigan fan, and he's been there. How many years he been there? Well, 4 years, and they haven't beaten Ohio State once. I mean, he has. I mean, he basically. I mean, and I know you might not understand it if you're not a Michigan fan, but if I put it to you like this, I think you'll understand it better. He basically did to Michigan what Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn did to the Lions.
I
Um, he
I, I understand. I
he
understand.
he pretty much took them from when he got there, they were maybe a couple good players, couple defensive coaching up. away from like really, really, being that good dominant college football team. Um, Same with the Lions. We were just maybe a couple of offensive pieces, a run game away from, contention and winning playoff games, a few defensive ends and defensive tackles away from having a really good defense. And then he comes in and really pretty much destroys it all. And a team like it's so bad now. Um, you have parents telling the team owners that they won't allow their kid to play there unless he's not there.
Now, what's his problem there? Like, is it the wins and losses, or is it like he doing something off the record?
I don't know. He does everything you would want. I think and they have talented guys there. They have some talented pieces there on the team. It's not like he can't. I mean, Michigan is a popular school. It's not like they can't get players to come in and recruit there. But I mean, I think he's had a defense. He's had a player go. I think at least in the top 15 picks for the last few years. But it's the wins and losses, man. They just look awful. When they go out to play, they just look unprepared. They look awful.
What's the record this year?
Shoot, man, I don't even. It's bad. I know that. I know it's so bad that they didn't even. They basically gave up the Ohio State game. Like they basically told Ohio State like, y'all win. That's how bad it was. Like it's not good at all.
Yeah,
But
his time might be done in there, but I still think he's a good NFL coach.
This is what I would say. If they do bring him in, and you know what, man, I meant to tell you, I was listening to 97.1. That's the Detroit station over in Detroit. Mike Valenti, my man, he was basically saying how over the weekend. So in Vegas, they had odds who was going to be the next Detroit Lions head coach, and pretty much Rob Saleh and Bieniemy were tied at the top, and they were tied. So over this past weekend, Arbro was like way down at the bottom, but over this weekend he shot all the way up to number one. And then I wanted to say too about the guys that we just hired today to help us find GMs and head coaches. They hired a guy from Michigan, so I don't know if that's the connection.
That's what I was
thinking.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the connection, but what I would hope that the Lions allow whatever GM they decide and that they pick. I would hope that they allow him, and I think they will. I think they will allow him to pick his own head coach. They should, because you have to be on, just like Bill O'Brien and Rick Smith. I hope that's that dude's name. You have to be on one accord. You don't want to have a guy, come in as the GM and he kind of wants to build a team that's.
Well, when you say that, I just think about what we just came from, because
exactly two different pages, right? It looked like from the draft, it looked like is Bob Quinn really that bad of a drafter, or is Matt Patricia just that bad of a head coach? I think it's kind of somewhere in between both, because Jelani Tavai is one terrible player. That kid is garbage. I know you didn't watch the game this past week, but man, he is terrible.
Wow.
And I think that's what I think everybody knew he was. I mean, I don't know if y'all listeners remember, but when that kid got drafted, they didn't even have a video of, like, you know how when everybody get drafted, they give you a background story and they say, hey, I'm from this place and I was born here. I had a rough childhood. They didn't even have a video of him. They didn't even expect him to go until like 6th, 7th round.
Wow. Wow, but we could go on and on about Bob Quinn and his picks and his.
We can, but that's not what today is about. But yeah, it's pretty much like we just had, two people that don't seem to be on the same path. And but I will say this, I wouldn't mind him coming in like as a coordinator or
Who,
maybe like an
Harbaugh?
assistant. Yeah, like
Nah,
maybe an assistant coach.
Harbaugh's coming in to take on the crown. Like he not doing those.
That's what I said. He too macho. He gotta have his
Yeah, he
own.
an alpha. He running the show.
But I say this: whatever GM we hire, if that's the guy he really wants, then hey,
But what GMs out there you think coincide with Harbaugh? Like I don't know. I think Ed Dobbs. Like I'm trying to figure out Ed Dobbs like style. Like if Ed Dobbs, because I like Ed Dobbs though. If he came
yeah, I
in,
do.
if he came
I
in,
really like him.
I'm trying to like what I've been trying to do is match up the GMs with the coaches that they like. So Ed Dobbs seemed like he'll mess with. I don't know. Like Ed Dobbs kind of seemed like he'll like Harbaugh too.
Now I also heard, in this last couple days, Marvin Lewis' name has been floating around.
You know who's putting out the
How
reports? Marvin Lewis. Now, I personally don't think that like I'll tell you this. If the Fords was behind it, right? If the Fords was
right,
behind it, I could see the Fords hiring Marvin Lewis, right?
mm-hmm.
Without a question.
Right.
But now that they brought in Spielman and Barry and them, I think they probably, and there's nothing wrong with Marvin Lewis. He'll come in and change the program. But
I do. I think he'll come in. I think he's a guy that will come in and he would basically be, to me, he would be just like Caldwell.
That's what I was just about to say that. It'd be just like Caldwell.
Yeah,
He'll bring some organization. He'll bring some stability. He'll, you know what I mean? We'll change the culture. But we've been there, done that. Like I'm good with 7-9 and 8-8.
Exactly. I don't like his record, and because he's been to the playoffs. Like I think he's been to the playoffs like maybe 4 times, and he's not won a game.
He has Cincy rocking in the playoffs for many years, but they not like you said, they never won one playoff game. I think
never won a game.
They might have won one. I think that was the. I think.
No, they didn't. When I read it today, they didn't win a game. Like not one game.
Yeah, so I'm good. Like nah, I'm good. Not here.
I'm good with it.
Yeah,
I'm good with it. I don't. If you want to bring him in as like again, if he's another guy you want to bring in as an assistant, cool. If not, nah.
And if you bring him in, what we gonna start doing? We gonna start running the 3-4 defense because that's his specialty. We gonna start running.
Yeah, he loves that.
Yeah, like I don't see it because they don't run that in the NFC or in the NFC North especially. But I don't see that. I don't see it at all. I think it was a smoke screen. It was just to say, hey, Marvin's still out there. I think his PR team threw that out there. Marvin's still here. Don't forget about him. But I don't think we get him. I'll pass.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to bring him in, like I said, as an assistant guy, because I feel like a guy like that is who Patricia should have had on his staff. Like, okay, I'm gonna bring in a guy to be my assistant that has kind of done this thing before.
You know he wasn't doing that. You know why?
Exactly. Right. But I think fans. I think before we start even looking at coaches, we got to really sit these next couple of weeks out. And because I didn't know this today, but the Lions only interviewed 3 candidates this last GM search.
Who, for Quinn?
Yeah, they only interviewed 3 candidates.
Who was it? Refresh the people's mind. Mine too.
It was Bob Quinn, and then it was 2 dudes who weren't qualified for the. You know how like you might not be necessarily. You're not gonna get the head coaching spot, but you'll get the interview anyway, just to kind of get your name out there.
Yeah.
Like kind of like when we interviewed Terrell Austin for the head coach position, but we knew we weren't gonna hire. Right. Like that. It was 2 dudes like that, and then it was a couple guys who turned down the interview. So
I
it
don't
was
think I
really,
liked them anyway. I didn't like anybody, and I ain't gonna lie, I like Quinn a lot. Quinn was my favorite one out of everybody, but shoot, how that turned out. Uh,
yeah. So now I'm okay. And also, it's been said by multiple different sources that the Lions job is appealing.
I told you that. I told you that.
People been saying that the Lions job is appealing, so I'm okay with them taking, because I think they said that the process of finding a guy could take up to 6 weeks, and you know what? I'm cool because I want you to.
No,
I don't want you
that's what I'm not cool with though. I'm not cool with the 6 weeks because how many weeks is left in the season? We got 3 weeks, right?
to 3. Yeah, we got three
So
weeks.
put it this way: in 3 weeks, there's gonna be a Black Monday, right? Coming up.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming. With that said, as appealing that the job is now, it's not going to be that appealing after that Black Monday because it's going to be that jet. I like me personally, I like the jet job a little bit better than the Lions job.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Um, I think though, I think what it is it's a couple guys they want to interview that's on playoff teams right now, and they won't be able to. They can't interview them except for like um, it's like that week, the bye week, where it's like no playoff games, no games,
Who is it?
or I'm not sure, but I'm saying I think it's like I'm hoping. What I'm hoping for is that it's somebody from like the Steelers organization or the Ravens organization that they want to, interview and talk to. But yeah, again, it's a couple guys that we can't interview right away, like, and we also can't hire them until the season is over. So like,
Only guy I like that's coming out from a playoff team or a team that's going to probably be in it is Ed Dobbs. That's it.
Dodge, yeah,
That's the only
I
guy.
like
That's the
Dodge.
only guy I'll wait for. Everybody else, I'm like, if you ain't getting Dobbs, then I ain't waiting.
I think it's a couple names out there circulating around. Um, it's a couple names out there circling around Pittsburgh. They got a couple good strong candidates in their building. To be honest, they got some guys in that front office that's literally been there for years, helped draft great players and build great teams. And I think that's the organization we should be pulling from. I don't want to pull. I don't want to pull from these organizations that's as bad as us. I don't want Marvin Lewis to come here, who just got fired from coaching the Cincinnati Bengals because of lack of success. Um, I want some guys to come here from winning organizations that have, knows what it takes to be around, knows what it takes to build a team, has seen it done before, has a strong vision, and it seems like nobody from New England, um, but it seems like the teams that constantly have a good team, a good squad, year in and year out. Yeah, everybody has a one or two down years, during rebuilds and stuff. But the Ravens, Pittsburgh, those are two teams at the top of the list. Always continuously have something going for them.
Definitely, definitely. I would love to take something from that football family, but I I don't know. I just think there's no.
I know, I,
Mhm.
I know you. I know you ready to.
I'm ready.
I know you're ready to get somebody in right away because I know you don't want. And I was feeling that way too. I didn't want the season to end and then people to be like, "Oh, you know what? Fuck that. I'll go and work for the. I'll take the Jets job." You know.
Yeah, I'm not giving nobody a chance to think. I'm not giving anybody a chance to renege on what they got to do. This is the perfect time, unless you're getting somebody like Ed Dobbs.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, and I've done research on the Ravens and the Steelers. There's nobody there unless it's the main guys involved, like and the Lions. One thing the Lions are telling you, see, they're gonna be for real about this. If they haven't been a GM before, there's probably a high up to 90% chance they're not gonna hire the guy. So
Probably not.
guy,
Yeah, probably not.
so Dorsey, and that even and that takes Dobbs out. Dobbs is, I think, is out. That's why that story came out with my man from Houston, the Smith guy. It's because he's in the lead running with Dorsey. Them two, I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of weeks that we hear Thomas Dimitrov get an interview. So I got my front runner.
And I wanted to interview him. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think he has to get an interview. So it's Thomas
Yeah.
Dimitrov, Smith, and then Dorsey. Those are probably your three top Don Dotters right now that the Lions are looking at, because they gotta go. Their thing is like this: we have to have somebody that was a GM before. Bob Quinn messed it up for anybody coming in that didn't do it before. You see what I'm saying? And the Lions are a tight organization that's still ran by the Fords, and they're not going to take a risk again like that.
I still think Dodds. I still think Dodds has a chance.
No, I do too. I think Dobbs has a chance, but then again, he has a chance, and I put him number 4. I put him in the list, but he actually is on the outside looking in as far as when it comes to Dobbs, Smith, and Dimitrov, them fellas. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, understood. Honestly, if you asking me, if they say that they wanted to hire Rick Smith tomorrow, I'd be okay with it.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
No, because I like him as a GM. I only like him as much as who he picks as the coach. You see what I'm saying? It has to. He has to, because if he gets, like, say if he gets hired, right, and then he brings in, let's just say hypothetically, let's just throw out, he brings in Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
I'm pissed. I'm pissed.
Oh, because you don't like Bieniemy as a
head coach.
Now this is the thing with Bieniemy. I know his name is out there, but his name kind of been out there for a few years, and he's got a background. Like, he has a background as far as head coaching goes. So I wouldn't be surprised if he still didn't, even after this year, if he still didn't get a head coaching position just because of
he's gone. He's definitely getting that job. He's definitely getting a job, because there's going to be so many jobs available. You got the Jets job.
Yeah.
He's definitely,
there's going to be some jobs available.
If he doesn't get to Houston, let's just say the Houston job is just like, nah, we good. He's definitely getting a Jets job. He's in there like swimwear. Like, he's got that job. That's already done. Like, he gets to pick and choose to say, I'm going to Houston. But let's just say Houston was like, nah, we're going to go a different direction. The Jets is rolling out the red carpet for that guy.
Yeah, and I do think that it's going to take us. I think it's going to take us a minute to pick. I know we want to get it done, and we want to kind of see what we're working with, but I think it's going to take, and I do too. I want them to pick someone that they feel comfortable with and that they really, really want as soon as possible, because I want them to be in a position where they can start. They can get a guy in, and because remember when we hired Bob Quinn, we kind of hired him. It kind of came at the end of the season, like after the Super Bowl, because he was with the Patriots, and he didn't really have time to prepare for drafts and look at free agent players and whatnot. But I want a guy to come in as soon as possible, because I want him to be able to check out, first figure out what are you going to do with Stafford? What are you looking to do in the draft? Also on the draft, we are like one game out of being in the top 5. So that's good for us. Now I want to kind of switch over from talking about the GM position until we get a little bit more news.
Right.
But let's talk about the Stafford injury. Where are you with that? I know he doesn't have any broken ribs. He doesn't have anything broken. Nothing is cracked. He's still in a lot of pain. Where are you with that?
I definitely think he's sitting out this week. If he wants to play that Stafford role, and like, oh, I'm a tough guy, because he does that. He's known for being a tough guy.
Yeah,
If he wants to do that, I take my hat off to him. I love him for that. You know what I mean? But I'd rather him sit out this game. But if he did want to come out and say, I'm toughing it out and I love this team and I'm fighting all the way to the end, that's respectable. I take my hat off to him, and I'm gonna support him, and I'm gonna watch the game. I'm gonna hope he has a hell of a game. But realistically, he's better off just sitting this one out. He's better off. I think I texted you the other day. He's better off sitting out the whole season, to be honest with you.
yeah, that's kind of where I am on the situation. I think he definitely does not play on Sunday, and then I think Sunday, if they lose, they're pretty much. I think they
Mathematically
only
out.
have a
Yeah, they're
right. They
mathematically
only
out.
have a 1%, 2% chance right now of making it. So if they lose Sunday, which I mean, let's be honest, it's the Titans here, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the, right after this.
And them games,
But it's the
and
Titans.
just to let you know, them games is going to sting us. That Bear game that we won, and that Atlanta game that we won. Because I think if we'd have lost them two, man, we probably would have been top four.
Already,
You
yeah,
already know.
no, most definitely. Those the Bears, yeah, the Bears game that we just won, that's gonna really be a pain to us. Um, when we beat Arizona, um, that's gonna be a pain to us. Um, but I still think,
The Washington one
I
too.
still,
God.
yeah, the Washington game was, oh man, because they could end up. I mean, I was looking at everybody's schedule, and the good thing for us is a lot of the teams that's ahead of us right now in draft position, they play each other. So it's gonna help us one way or another. Like even if one team win and one team lose, it's gonna help us one way or another as far as draft position. And like I said, I don't see us winning another game. I don't believe Stafford will play. I don't think it's good. I don't think they'll send him out there and say, we're mathematically eliminated. We know you were just hurt last week. Going out there and play. I think he's done. I think they're going to. They actually looked at another quarterback today
Right,
from the
right. Yeah, I
XFL.
seen that.
So I believe he's done for the rest of the season if they're smart. Because at the end of the day, you don't want him to go out there and say he don't play this game. He plays the next two games. You don't want him to go out there that last game against the Bears, who have a good defense, who still might, not the Bears, my bad, but maybe against the Vikings, who have pretty okay pass rush, and then you go out there and he gets hit a couple more times, and then boom, his body is showing you literally right now that it's falling apart.
Right.
His body is showing you right now, like, listen, hey, I've taken as many hits as I can take. I've done this. And it's a difference when you kind of a little bit hurt or injured or a little bit in pain, but you're in a playoff game where you're playing for that last playoff spot. This is not that situation. I would think if they really care about his health, they would sit him out for the rest of the last three games and most likely lose out. I don't see us beating anybody with what we have. But we will see. We will see. I know he's not playing Sunday though, so that's that. I know he's not playing Sunday. Um, so yeah, did you want to go ahead and switch into what we're gonna be looking for in Sunday's game against the
Now
Titans?
we're gonna do that tomorrow. We still gonna we're gonna do the preview game. This is just emergency, so I wanted to talk about the the hirings, and just to brush back. I know you wanted to get in a little bit more about the Barry Sanders hiring, so touch up on that.
Yeah, with Barry, and I'm glad you reminded me. But yeah, with Barry, that's good because I'm thinking that he's gonna want to come in, and what they're doing right now is they're kind of making it look better. They still gotta mend stuff with Calvin Johnson. That would make it look really good, and they need to do that soon. I would hope that they would try to maybe be calling him up within the next couple of weeks as well. Like, hey, let's make this right. Let's mend this. Because people see that. People see, oh damn, Calvin don't even. He don't even mess with them for real. He don't go there. He don't speak with them.
Calvin
They can't get him to
Calvin want his
going.
money though. Are they gonna give him his money?
Exactly. I mean, and I don't know how they can do it. I don't know if they just want to say, hey, let's just write this guy a check, or do they want to say, hey, you know what, do it like they kind of did Barry, like, look, be a be a face card for us, and we'll pay you. We're gonna pay you, a little bit, and I'll pay him even a little bit more. Like, yeah, come in, come out to the practice field every once in a while, go to a couple Detroit Lions events, and we're gonna put you on the payroll, we're gonna get you going, we're gonna
He
get you working.
he is. I don't want to understate this. He is needed in that organization, bro.
Yep,
Calvin Johnson
yep,
has to be in the building. He doesn't,
yep.
and he doesn't have. He shouldn't have to show up once a year and just make an appearance. He needs to be in the building full time.
Yeah, he needs to be somebody who, especially if they trade Stafford, he needs to be somebody who free agents can call up and say, hey, you know, or he needs to be a guy who can call up a free agent. The thing is, he's so respected by everybody league wide. It's just like Chris Spielman and Barry Sanders. He needs to be somebody whose face is seen with the Lions to make them as an organization look better, make him look, like they really want to treat players better and stuff like that. That's how I feel. You're right. He needs to be some. And the thing is, he still stays in Detroit.
Yeah, he's yearning for it.
I can see
He's
it.
yearning. He
Yeah,
needs to be respected by the Lions. When is he going in the Hall of Fame? Is it this year?
I think so. I mean, I don't know if he's first ballot, but yeah, I think it's
Yeah, he's going to be. He's definitely going to be.
this
Yeah, he's
upcoming one.
definitely going to be first ballot. You know that. He got to be. If he not, I'm done with the NFL if he's not first ballot.
He do. I know it was another guy. I forgot what his name was, and he was a really good player. But he said he got him to the Hall of Fame. But I know he said the reason he didn't. Now he wasn't on Calvin's level as far as being the best at his position, but he was up there. But I know he was saying if he hadn't if he did if he hadn't played with the Lions, he would have been in the Hall of Fame much earlier.
I could see that. But Calvin
Yeah,
was just a freak. Like he
yeah. He's the best wide receiver I've ever
yeah,
seen in
they
my whole
gotta have
life.
to put him in their first ballot. And if it's this year, it just makes sense. Like Barry, I'm praying that Barry and Chris Spielman are at the Fords, like they're talking to Sheila, like, yo, we got to give him his money, slide him a check, whatever we got to do. We need him in the building with us. He
I
should
hope
be
so.
standing tall with us, because that, like you just said, is gonna get people to be like, oh, Calvin over there chilling, like free agent wide receivers and stuff like that. That's trying to
Yeah,
that's trying to
yeah.
get their career back on track, and they might have had a little off season. They
It,
like, oh, Calvin over there in the building, and I could talk to him like whenever I want.
right.
I'll sign over there. It looks a lot more appealing.
And Chris Spielman said it. He said, I was glad that he said, and I didn't watch his full presser, but he said, I'm also here to help build the culture. And that that he was when he said that to me, he said, I'm gonna get Calvin Johnson his money. That's what he said to
He
me.
better. If he do that, he my man, like forever, forever. Like Spillman built like that. Like he is built like that. He a smart dude. He knows that you gotta have guys like that around. Like you cannot have them away from the building. That makes no sense. It makes us look bad. It makes us, and honestly, and I don't want to keep bringing them up, but wow, did Quinn and them mess that up bad?
Oh my goodness, man, this was terrible. That's how I knew Bob Quinn wasn't a good GM, because it's like, yo, you're hearing it, and it came out. It came out. It was like as soon as they were talking about, him even getting into the Hall of Fame. When they was mentioning his name, to me that would have seemed like a perfect time to say, you know what, let me call up, let me call Buddy up and see if I can make this right. I feel like had he done that, he it's a few things had they did differently, they probably would still have a job. I'm glad that they didn't do them differently, but they probably would have still had a job. You know what I'm saying? But to me, that's how I knew he wasn't a GM, a good GM for real, because it was kind of like it kind of was like when he came in, he was looking at the Calvin Johnson situation like, oh, I didn't mess it up. I didn't mess Calvin Johnson up. I didn't quote unquote, you know, was his decision to leave here. And pretty much he said he wasn't, because I remember they asked him like, had he talked to Calvin Johnson, and he said he had not. He had reached out to him at all. So
Yeah, he was stubborn. He was arrogant, just like you could tell, like from a lot of other players in their position, or how he treated them. Like he was arrogant and he didn't want to make amends. He was just like, "Well, it's my way or the highway, and I'm running the show here, so we don't need you. Go somewhere else. Get your money somewhere else." All right, but karma's a B, right? That's what they say.
karma is a B, and now look at you. You're looking on the outside, and everybody's getting excited for football, and you're looking on the outside. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna be involved with that. You're not gonna be with a team. Same for Matt Patricia. Look at where your arrogance and your everything has gotten you.
Right, and I know we started this conversation. The reason why we having this podcast is just because of the hires. I will say I congratulate the Sheila for bringing those guys in and saying
Yeah, this was
yeah
a good
saying
one.
that I need help, and you getting help from lions. You know what I mean? You getting help
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
some dogs that can eyeball some talent.
Been to
Yeah,
war here and know what it feel like to lose here. Sheila right now in my book has she's got 2 points right now in my book. The first good point was I remember I had said probably on a past podcast I had said, yo, if she if this is what I'm looking for Sheila, if she fires them after this game, she's making progress, and she didn't fire him the day after, but what she fired him like 2 days after. So she got a point for me in my book because that's what I would have done. Fired him. I probably would have fired him that night, kind of like the Falcons did to Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, they got Dan Quinn up out of it. But you know what? They had been telling Dan Quinn like, look, you gotta win these games. You gotta win these games. And I think Arthur Blank was embarrassed by the loss, and he was out. He was at the game too, so there's a difference. Just like Sheila was at the game. You know, we seen her with her hands covering her face, so she was at the game as well. Um, so she got a point for that, and then this right here was a good. This was another good point to bring in some guys like you said that are dogs, that are really Lions guys. And not only did she only bring them in, but she brought some other guys in who are, known and respected in the football world. And it was a good look to me, you know. And also, I like it too because I feel like when you don't know football, you can be swindled. Like I feel like Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn, they were swindling them as far as football stuff goes. So now, when you have a guy in the room who can say, "Well, that's not right. You don't do that." You know what I'm saying? Now it's like, okay, they can't be swindled. You know, when they go to talk to these guys and see what they ask them what they want
right,
to do with the
right.
organization.
Because
Now you
a
can't be
guy like
swindled.
Spielman and Barry, you got to remember when you played in the NFL and you've been playing since grade school, and you've seen coaches like on all levels. You know a good coach when you know a good coach when you hear him talk. You see what I'm saying? Like, I was funny the other day. I was watching Marshawn Lynch, and he was like, "There's a show called To Fix My Bar or Fix My Restaurant." I don't know if you ever watched that,
Hmm.
but Marshawn Lynch has a bar out there in Oakland, and he had the guy come in, and he fixes bars and restaurants, and he's watching the whole bar, and he's sitting there with Marshawn. He's telling them everything that's wrong and what needs to be fixed. And the first thing Marshawn did was look at him and said, "I ain't gonna lie to you. You could have been a coach in the NFL." And he said, "You'd have been really good." Because he said, "You got me ready to go through a wall right now and get everybody in that restaurant." You feel me? So people like players
Right.
know when a guy is good or not just by being around it for so much. So I'm happy that the next coach that comes in will actually get eyeballed by these guys, and they're gonna be like, Yeah, nah, I'm good. We need the Lions. We need something else, and they're gonna know from that heart aspect to say how me and you always talk. Like, yeah, you're a coach, but you're just a coach that could probably get us to 9-7. We want we want 12-4. We want 13-3. That's the
You're
coach we
right.
want.
You have to find the balance like Tomlin. Tomlin is a guy, he's a leader of men. He's also he knows the game. He's a leader of men and he also knows the X's and the O's of the game. He studies the game. You know, to me, um, if you're not a student of the game if you're still using the same, like, the thing with the Steelers is they're always up to date. Like, their offense right now is an up to date offense. Um, you know what I'm saying? Like, with Patricia, it was like, yeah, he's an X's and O's guy, but he's an X's and O's guy for the last generation of football. Like, his system worked years and years and years ago. You know, his defense got cooked the last two times they was in a Super Bowl. So he's in a you know he's in a we need a guy who, and they were talking about this on ESPN, and it's like, in order to be a head coach, it's not just being the X's and O's guy. That's why every coordinator that is good as being a coordinator is not really as good as being a head coach, because you have to be a
Right,
leader of men. You
right,
have to be able to lead men. You have to be able to talk to men. You have to be able to look a man in
right,
his eye and to be able to tell him what needs to be done, and him be able to feel comfortable in following you. It's one thing if you a dude and you look at me and say, "Hey, Darius Slay, you good, but you ain't that good. You need to work on this." And you've never won anything. So I'm Darius Slay. I'm looking at you like, man, nigga, I'm the best player on this team. How you can't tell me that? I'm the best player on this team. I didn't shut down everybody in the league. Everybody talking about me. What have you done? You know what I'm saying?
right.
It's another thing to have a guy like Jim Caldwell come to you, look you in the eye, and tell you, "Hey, man, listen, I think you're a great player. You can be better. We're gonna work on this." And then you, as a man, say, "Yeah, you know what? You're right. Let's do this." You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
I know 100% what you're talking about.
You
100%.
have to be able. You have to be able to be. It's almost like being a manager. Just because you know everything about everything about the ins and outs of the company and the store doesn't mean you can be the manager of the store. You might just be good in the position you in right now, but you ain't good enough to be a manager, because you got to be able to communicate stuff a certain way. You have to be able to deal with personalities. You have to be able to look at the big picture. You have to be able to mold. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to put people in position to say, "Okay, listen, I know I got a guy over here. He ain't good with customers, but he sure can move quick. I'm gonna put him in the back, have him stock this stuff up for me. I'm gonna put Patricia in the front. She's a talker, so she can. I'm gonna put her right up there where she's good at. So that way the store can excel." Patricia was more so like, "Hey, you gonna go where I tell you to go. I hired you to work on Sundays, so you gonna work on Sunday."
Right, right. And you see where that got us.
You see how nobody responded to it. It's more than just having a good system, or you got to have guys that respond to it. And the thing with Belichick is, no, Belichick is not, he's not that much of a people person, but he is a leader of men in other ways. He's a guy who, if he says, "Hey, we can win a championship this year as long as y'all do this," you can win a champ. You can, from his past accomplishments, you can look at him and say, "We can win a championship." You know what I'm saying? He has the pedigree.
Definitely. And obviously you can see he cannot be duplicated. He cannot be he can't
He
be.
can't. He can't be duplicated. And this is the thing. Everybody who is now coming from the New England coaching tree, and not the coordinator, so like not Patricia, not Daniels, but the dude that's over there in New York right now, And even Flores, everybody that's coming from that tree that are doing their own thing and being their own person, they're having
Mm.
success. It's only the coaches that come from that tree that try to be Belichick and try to be, this or that are not having success.
Yep. Hopefully that was the last of it. Hopefully.
Yeah, I
Hope
hope
so.
so.
Hope they all learn. Like, yep, yeah, that ain't gonna work.
If I don't see another New England's player, coach, assistant in Detroit, I won't be
At
upset.
all.
I genuinely won't care because those guys were terrible.
Yeah, it was definitely some off balance stuff going on. And we sent them some players that turned out to be pretty cool for them. That's the cold part. But
That's the
that's the
cold part
cold
about it.
part, man. We touched a lot on this, man. Definitely a good day. Um, you know, from having a lot of bad days the last couple months. I
Yeah.
want to say since the day before the draft, it's been pretty bleak. But
Yeah, you're right. It's been a bad. I mean, you when you said that, man, it really is sad. It's been bad. It's been bad days in the Detroit Lions fan world since draft day. I mean, it's been pretty much terrible ever since then. I'm glad we got some positivity now, and I just tell everybody that's listening and just to keep your ears open and stay looking because it's gonna be some more news. It's gonna be more news coming out in the coming days and in even into the current weeks. So just keep your ears open and your
yep. And
eyes
on a
open.
business note, today's our first day. We starting off on the new Anchor and new Spotify, also on the iTunes. Also, we starting up with a new handle for on the Twitter, which is going to be at Detroit Lions SZN season short, and
Yes,
also same
sir.
as Instagram and YouTube. And we actually gonna be hustling it up on those avenues. So gonna be putting in the work. So you'll be seeing us a lot more. So tune in. You know, I guarantee you, if you like real stuff, you're gonna like this. If you like real talk, definitely gonna like this podcast and everything we bringing, even on Twitter. If you don't like it and you like to be sugar coated and have your hand held, you probably ain't gonna like it. But it's all good.
This might not be the
Yeah.
place for you. And also we're gonna try to definitely make sure we get more into the visual side too, so that way you can kind of see us, up close and kind of face to face, and just kind of vibe with us a little bit on a YouTube
Yep. And then we're
situation.
gonna get our merchandise up too. So you're gonna see us wearing the merch while we doing some zooms and it's gonna be real, man. It's gonna be a good next couple years. I'm hoping it's a good decade, man. It's still 2020. If we can get this coach and GM search done the right way, man, the next decade could be really good, man. That's what I'm hoping for. From 2000 to
I'm feeling I'm I'm feeling
me.
positive about it. I
It's
most
it's it's
definitely
it's
am. I'm
it's a
feeling
good
positive.
feeling right now. It's if anything, be optimistic. It's the time to be like, yo, put it out there in the earth and be like, hopefully,
Yeah.
divine intervention takes place and God is saying like, yo, y'all's been bad for so long. I gotta make it right. And when God make it right, He gonna look and be like, yo, this franchise been so bad for so long. I'm gonna give y'all a 10-year runoff, and I'm gonna give you like 6, 7 trips in that 10-year runoff. You know what I mean? That's how it works, man.
Yeah. And I mean, I just want fans to also realize it can be done. I know a lot of fans, some of them feel like it can't be done, and that's why they're kind of happy and holding on to, the little bit of mediocrity that we have. But the Steelers were a terrible organization until they got the right
Right.
people in place, and they got themselves in order. Every organization right
No.
now that's up and running, we're all they at one
Yeah.
point were all terrible organizations. We just happen to kind of take that and go run with it. But it definitely is a time to be optimistic. The draft is coming up. We're gonna have a hot spot in the draft. we're getting ready to get a new coach, new GM. So now's a good time for the Detroit area and just everybody to be positive because you don't want someone to come in kind of like how Patricia came in. When he came in, it definitely was it was negative right away.
Right. And
So
oh, go ahead.
and then no, I was just gonna say it was kind of almost the opposite. When Jim Caldwell came in, it was positive. When he came in, he got such a positive, especially that first year because they went 11-5, and he got such a positive, viewing. It was the later years where he started getting more into, seeing how negative it can be in Detroit. But tell everybody to be
That's it, man.
positive.
Hope for the best. It's gonna come. It's a reason why Quinn and Patricia was let go when they were let go, and I'm letting you know this 2020. This is the runoff for us. I actually feel it, man, and I think sometimes even the Fords, as much as I dislike how they've been making decisions in the past, I don't even think they can mess this up no more because I think it's out of their hands. Uh, I,
Yeah, out of their hands. I don't think they can mess it up. They can't mess it up. They can
Yeah, I
mess it
think
up, but
now
I
they
don't
just
think they
realize it's
will.
out of their hands. And man, we seen today. Today was man. I'm telling you, I'm not as enthused as I should be. I should be yelling on the phone right now, but bringing Spielman in and Barry, and if they and them guys could get Calvin in, and man, I'm ecstatic. I'm ready.
I'm super happy about it, man. You're right. I'm not even. I didn't even get on Twitter and talk about it as much as I probably should have. But I'm
And
definitely
matter of fact,
happy
what you
about it.
do is get on the Twitter on the new Twitter handle. That's how you do it. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm once I get off and take care of some stuff, other stuff I got, I'm gonna get on there actually tonight before I go to sleep and kind of follow a couple people that we need to follow and try to get some followers. That's the main thing. Try to get some followers and we got to figure out. Oh, we got to post as soon as we get this one. We got to post the link so
All right, I'll
people
send it
can
to you.
and we also right, and then we also shout out. I also shout it out on my regular Twitter as
Oh, go
well.
ahead. Oh, you said okay, I got
Oh
you.
no, I was right. Yeah, I was saying I'm gonna shout the new podcast out on my regular Twitter just so you can kind of get
I
seen a little
definitely I'll
bit
do it on
more.
mine too. And then man, we out, man. I appreciate it. Let's get the